got to start the radio side. If we don't start the radio side, we can't do the radio show. SR Web Creators, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. And lovely Lucy Bell, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. Very much appreciate that. And thank you so much. We got about 45 seconds here before we're going to kick things off, and we're going to rock it on out. I'm looking forward to it. I'm just excited. Geraldine will be in Las Vegas for our event, too, April 22nd to 24th in just a couple of weeks' time. I was just spending time with her about a week and a half ago at UFO Con in San Francisco. Nicholas Shaughnessy, the gorgeous Carla, how you doing? We're going to get going here in about 10 seconds, so do me the favor, if you don't mind. Warm up those hands. Get them nice. Get them ready. And do me a favor. Get your horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter, you know that. And this show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show tonight. Geraldine Orozco is going to get into hypnotic regression and everything that goes along with it. Did she knock Dave out about a week and a half ago in San Francisco? I'm telling you, she gave me a left hook, a right hook, an uppercut, and maybe, just maybe, I was knocked out by the lovely Geraldine. Then in hour 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Swamp Dweller has a great another story for us. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio will be here with another cryptid tale, and Shirky Poo's got the news. All right, let's get right to it. Our good friend Geraldine Orozco of Bay Area Meditation, she comes in once a month to talk about the spiritual you, how we can improve our Zen, our Chi, our consciousness, our cleanliness and spirituality, and of course, how do we talk to aliens? And what do we do if the aliens are around? Geraldine has been doing this for the last number of years, leaving a corporate job in San Francisco to concentrate on learning the spiritual and the more important part of life, which is called humanity. For most people, she is one of the top in the field. She is highly wanted for documentaries. She has been invited to numerous conferences annually the last couple of years to spread her information and her expertise on really improving yourself and the hybrid program that you might be involved with as well. Who knows? Men, women, doesn't matter. Some of us have alien babies out there. We're going to find out about that. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website, and we'll bring in Geraldine right now, the lovely and talented Geraldine. It's always good to see you. We'll get you to unmute your mic. How are you, my beautiful friend?
Hi, I'm fantastic. Thank you so much. So good to be here again.
It's very good to have you here, and it's always a pleasure. And, you know, it was so nice seeing you about a week and a half ago. We got to go for a beautiful Italian dinner. Was it Italian or Greek? Greek. It was a Greek dinner, but yes. Nonetheless, it was wonderful to be able to spend some quality time and just chatting about the phenomena and everything that kind of goes along with it, you know, and we're going to see you in a couple weeks in Las Vegas at our event.
Yes.
I think you're still
really
coming
excited.
there. We have a number of listeners have been asking, is Geraldine going to be there? Is she going to be right there with us? And I'm like, yeah, she is. Because the one thing I know about you is when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I look forward to it, and I'm excited to connect with everyone that's going to be there. Hey, everybody in the chat, welcome.
And for you, I mean, you are somebody who's been doing this for a number of years now, and we always have audience members who are here for the first time and may not have heard your story and how you got involved with this. But you left a very successful job in the corporate world in San Francisco after your own experiences. The drive that made you leave that corporate world, the safety of that paycheck, the safety of that career and a successful business that you had, do you ever regret leaving that to get into this type of scenario where you are now, working with spirituality?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, there is, once you are in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, it's almost as if you flow in the direction of everything that needs to be occurring, and the resistance kind of just falls. I think when a lot of people right now are experiencing that, actually, a lot of my clients are looking to transition from their corporate jobs into something that's a little bit more holistic, a little more connected, something that's a little more authentic in terms of being of service, So for me, it was an incredible, incredible journey that just completely changed my life from one day to the next. And there was no question about whether I wanted to do it. It was just a natural opening and a complete surrender. I chose to surrender to the universe and say, universe, work through me, let me know what you need me to do, and I am here to be of service. And the amazing thing about that is that in my mind at that moment, because I had been working on myself in deprogramming programs of lack, of not having enough, any kind of programs of doubt or self-worth, all of that started to kind of dissolve in a way that it really became a powerful just surrender, and not even thinking about money or how I would survive, just to be of service. And from that moment until today, I've never had to worry about needing something or worrying about lack or anything like that. And I think that that's something that a lot of people that are making that conscious transition are really experiencing. It's you're going now into the mechanics of creation. You're not going into cycles of karmic cyclical trauma, the laws of accident. You're now becoming a creator, and that's kind of what I'm here to do, is to teach people how to become creators of their life rather than be, victimized or helpless in the cycles that they're experiencing.
Geraldine, one of the subjects that I've never asked you this, I don't believe, and I'm always every month trying to figure out something that I haven't asked you since we've been doing this for like 5.5 years with you. But when you told your parents and your family that you were leaving the corporate world to take on this spiritual journey that you were going to go on, how did they react to that? Because the one thing that I'm learning from a lot of people out there in our audience is that there is a fear of coming out, so to speak, that you've had alien contact or some sort of spiritual encounter that has changed your life. And sometimes when they do mention it to family and those closest to them, the reaction is highly negative. How did your family react when you told them about what you were changing to do?
It's interesting because at first, you got to remember, this is actually a long process for me to come out publicly. My experience happened in 2013, in which I told my parents, the two people in the world. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, I'm seeing you just fine.
Okay, good. For some reason, I blanked out on my screen. So I told my parents about what happened because obviously, super close with my family, and they are very, very super spiritual. So, they were very open to having that kind of a conversation. And from that conversation, it came out that they had also experienced a lot of contact experience in their life, and that was a really huge surprise to me. I totally did not expect that. I thought they would think I would be insane for talking about, the experience that I had, much less the side effects, which were the physical side effects, the intuitive ability that kind of came upon all of a sudden from one day to the next, and, the soreness in the body. I mean, everything was just pretty pretty physical, and so when I told them about that, they were just very supportive, but also in disbelief. They weren't sure how to handle that. So I didn't tell anyone for those years until 2017, actually. And that's when I went public, really, with the documentary, Extraordinary the Seeding. That's when I came pretty public. So it went from 0 to 100 pretty quickly when I made the decision that I need to find my own answers and figure out what was happening to me, why I was involved. And then when that came public, my family that saw the film kind of started to talk about their contact experience. And that's how we kind of got deeper into these topics. So at first, parents and family were saying, and my partner at the time would say, don't talk about it. You're going to ruin your career. It's going to be, people will ridicule and they will not understand how to combine your corporate life with this kind of ET contact life. And so I had to kind of keep it under wraps during that entire time. And it was difficult. It was like living a double life. It was like trying to be invested and interested in this very materialistic event planning world that I was a part of. I was very good at what I did. And I made a lot of money doing it, but it just wasn't fulfilling anything that was real to me. And I really needed answers. The soul was just, it didn't have any peace at that time. So I think the best decision that I made was to get hypnotherapy, because that was actually one of the biggest steps in the direction of integrating all of these experiences, filling in the missing pieces from my contact from the age of 5 until that moment in 2013. So it was a big step.
What advice do you give people out there, Geraldine, who are, struggling and battling, don't have that family support that you did when you decided to go public with what you were going, in return changing your entire life? Because a lot of people are synonymous with their paycheck, they're synonymous with their career, they're synonymous with their family and friends, and all of a sudden to have a wrench like aliens or something like that thrown into the mix, a lot of people don't know how to react to that or even deal with it.
Yeah. What I tell my clients, first of all, contact is very much a spiritual. It's very much linked to our spiritual evolution. And that's something that we have to understand. Why? Because when we have contact, we are heightening, we are shifting in between dimensional planes. That means that your entire organism is beginning to activate and functioning in a different way in order to be aligned with these interdimensional beings. And really, what we're actually experiencing is that our holographic DNA is becoming activated, and we are projecting into our human experience these kinds of experiences. We begin to experience our Pleiadian bloodlines, all of these little bloodlines that make up what we are as intergalactic, interdimensional, multidimensional beings we are tuning into. And so this is a process that once we have a touch into that realm, our entire life has to readjust, in that if we want to continue having that contact, we have to maintain that frequency. So there's a lot of internal work that is involved in maintaining this. And so what I tell my clients is to focus on that spiritual development, focus on that spiritual understanding, understand what is consciousness, ask those difficult questions. What do you need in order to understand what's happening? Because in that understanding for each person, which is going to be different, people go down different rabbit holes to reach their answers, and that's perfectly fine. That's what makes contact such a beautiful and unique kind of human experience, because what we're discovering through hearing little puzzle pieces of people from around the world is that we're building this picture, this image, an understanding, a profound understanding on what humans are, what these interdimensional beings are, and our role in all of this, So in my opinion, the people that are waking up, that are having this contact experience, they're special. And I don't just mean that, there's a lot of cliche ideas that, you're special, you think you're special, but, they really are special because there's some work that has gone into that. And it goes beyond just your spiritual work. We're talking about centuries of ancestral development, spiritual development in your bloodline that has come and kind of cultivated into who you are and what you are to the point where it's expressed itself in your lifetime. And that's a huge thing. So that's the first step. Cultivate that spiritual evolution, understand, ask those difficult questions, get them answered. And secondly, find a support group. Find a support group before you go out public and tell everyone what's happening necessarily. I oftentimes would suggest coming to a support group and understanding what it means to be a contactee, an experiencer. You get to hear other people's experiences, and that is super powerful because a lot of times you discover more, you learn more about yourself, about others, and how others have coped as well. And it really helps equip you for the moment you coming out of that closet, when you're ready to share your experience. You really begin to kind of understand that you don't need to feel isolated or separate or judged by that. You have a strong foundation, emotional and spiritual.
When you sit there and you have people who are absolutely petrified, afraid to talk to their families about this, what do you take them through? How do you calm them down to let them know that whether the answer is we believe you or go to hell, one of the two, or anything in between, that they are getting the best message at that time possible?
Yeah. I think that one of the most important things is to help people learn how to meditate. Meditation will allow you to kind of calm your mind and have a more neutral way of observing these experiences. And really, when you understand the mechanics of creation, which means that how are you choosing, we have to understand that all of our feelings, emotions, thoughts, intentions from the subconscious mind are the ones that feed into the output of experience, okay? And that's true for the physical world as is for the interdimensional aspect of our experience. So we really need to reprogram that as a profound understanding. Once you understand that, then we can talk about the details of manifestation and co-creation. Because if you're in a state of fear, you're going to create more fearful experiences. You will also be in resonance with darker entity-like beings. And so this is where people come to a point where they really have to learn how to control their emotions. They have to learn how to, observe themselves in these experiences and have a mastery. They have to learn how to master this incredible instrument of the physical body so that they can begin to navigate. I think that contact experience is like the next step in our spiritual evolution. And many of those that have been asking for contact, have also been doing their own spiritual work in their waking time, so they already know, they kind of understand how manifestation functions. And this is why they say, be careful what you ask for, because once you have that contact, you have to understand how to navigate that. I think it's a learning process, and it's part of the human evolution, which we're going to be facing more going into the next few years, I think.
So when you decided to shut down your business, did you shut it down or did you sell it in order to move on? Or did you just say, you know what, that's it, I'm canceling all my clients, telling them that I'm not doing this anymore? How did it work for you?
Yeah, so for me, I established a pretty strong high-end event planning company that was becoming quite internationally known and published in different magazines for the kind of work that we were doing. So thankfully, I grew it to the point where it was possible to actually, have some value for its concept. And so that allowed it to, kind of sell. But as a result of that experience, it took a long time to even make that decision because it was my baby. I grew it out of my garage. I started in my garage and then I grew it into an office and then it became like a bigger thing. But alongside that, I was working in my meditation school, which is corporate meditation. So I kind of had to make a choice, which direction was I going? I kind of started, as you can see, both of those companies started at the same time. And I guess it was, coming through my spiritual evolution, choosing what direction I was going to take. So at that point, it became really easy, to let go of that once I understood. And it wasn't until after my hypnotherapy, literally the next day, that I decided to completely dissolve all of my ties to that career that I built for myself. And I understand for many people that can be very difficult, but I think once you understand your purpose, once you understand your role in all of this, it becomes very easy. But the trick is that you have to trust yourself. And that's something that you have to build. You have to build self-trust. You have to love yourself so much that you have to know what's best for you. And this level of working for the collective is not about what's best for me, my ego, which means like money or things that I enjoy doing. What I discovered actually is that a lot of the creativity that I was doing was more for my ego rather than to be of service to other people, for example, in my case. And I see this a lot, even with my clients that are doctors or lawyers. They're beginning to realize, this isn't even what I wanted to do. I just did it because of, the status that it would give me. I just did it for the money that it would give me. But they're miserable, So we have to kind of take a really, really sobering look at our life and the choices and why we ended up in those life choices, and really take a look at what's healthy for us. Are we out of shape? Are we in a mess? Are we unhealthy? Are we, doing all these toxic things for ourselves? And then do you want to continue that kind of lifestyle, or do you want to go into something that's more nourishing, flourishing for yourself and for all? I think this is where we change directions of our focus.
3 minutes to go. Have you ever regretted leaving your previous job to take this on?
No. As I mentioned earlier, not at all. It was definitely completely in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing, And so what I do today,
even during the tough times.
You mean tough times that I was going through? No, not at all, not at all. Because this is a whole different level of operating. This is a level of operating in which you're operating in this realm in another way. It's not about money. It's not about survival anymore. It's about higher laws of creation. And I know that my role that I play here, we can go into all the details, but in my simultaneous lives, which I operate on, I've participated in these councils of 9, councils of 13, in which the focus is the evolution of consciousness on different levels. And so when you're operating on this different level, you understand that the human experience is more than just the illusion of the physical. It's not about going to work and having these silly lives that we think we need to have. It's about the soul, the journey of the soul. So when you understand that, it's a responsibility that you kind of choose to take on, and actually when I had a near-death experience in 2018, this is where I was brought to a turning point. And it was like, are you going to do what you decided you're going to do, or are you going to check out? That's your choice. That was a choice that was presented to me in that near-death experience. And I decided I'm going to continue doing this because this is what I'm in alignment with. And when I made that choice, I immediately went back into my body. I came back to life. You see, and I hear a lot of people experiencing this. Anita Murjani, for example, who came back to life from stage 4 cancer. She was on the deathbed, and then she gets presented with this opportunity because she finally understood what her purpose was, and she goes right back into life. So this is the thing. We are presented with this. It means that humans have a purpose that transcends this physical material illusion that we are experiencing.
I love it. So knowledgeable, and she's here monthly. Geraldine Orozco and the spiritual you. This is why we bring her. She is literally an ass kicker to our consciousness on each and every month, and trust me, I know I need it. I'm sure many of you do as well. Geraldine, when we come back from the break, we're going to get into regression therapy. Why? Well, because you kind of knocked me out a week and a half ago in San Francisco, and I'm different now. I can say I'm different. I don't know how, but it feels different. And we're going to talk about that and so much more. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website. Check it on out. She's the real deal. She's the real person and the spiritual you on Spaced Out Radio. Next. All right, we're clear. That's
All
good
right.
times. Good times. By the way, congratulations to our one of our favorite veterans, Surf Jer, 5 years sober. 5 years sober.
Wow,
Congratulations. That's
Surf
awesome.
Chair. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Love you, man.
Thank you to all our listeners. All you guys are just amazing. You guys are such hard workers, spiritually and in the regular world.
Mm-hmm. Gary Voorhees and Gary's Beard, 2 separate entities, 2 separate area codes. Thank you for stopping on in, buddy. Appreciate that. And, yeah, looking forward to seeing your new documentary, bud. Who else has joined us here? I will make one that says spiritual ass kicker, Kira. I got to make a couple more. I did put a couple of Bigfoot shirts on our store. Hi, Grandpa Holland. And, yeah, I've been adding new swag here all the time. Dim da dim, one of my favorite names to say on the radio. Dim da dim. Just feels so good. Feels so good. Been keeping busy?
Oh, yeah, this week is very interesting. Very busy, but great.
I'm going to get you to move.
How about you?
I'm going to get you to move your camera up just a little bit because it's cutting off your forehead.
Oh, really? Okay, let's see if I can fix that. There we go.
Let's see. My boss came up to me in my office today, and he says, "What are you sleeping for?" I guess I fell asleep in my office today.
Oh my gosh!
And then he was
very tired.
Then he started laughing, and I said, honestly, I didn't even know that I had fallen asleep in my office. And he just starts laughing, and I said, well, it's nothing you haven't done before, so wake me when you need me. Wake me when you need me.
You need to get some rest. You're not getting some rest, Dave.
Ah, yes, but I've started exercising again.
Oh, good. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. But the weather's also nice, so that helps, right?
Yeah.
Motivating.
I can almost see about 50% of my backyard now.
Nice. That's great.
It snowed this morning.
Wonderful.
Yeah, April 5th, snowing.
Jesus. Yeah, we were in the same place last year, I think.
Yeah. So.
I hope it starts to warm up soon.
It is. The snow is melting, and pretty soon it's going to be good.
Okay.
It's going to be good. Let's see here. It was 93 today. Where the hell are you, Nicholas? 93 on April 5th.
Wow.
John Poe, how you doing? 86 degrees. You guys are nuts.
It was really warm today here in the Bay Area as well. I think we got to 80s as well.
No, well, hold on. What? Yeah. We'll do the famous, what's the temperature in 108 Mile Ranch? It is 1 Celsius, 34 Fahrenheit.
Oh my God.
1 Celsius, 34 Fahrenheit, which means that it is officially not socks weather.
Okay.
As soon as it gets plus degrees, man, the socks are off.
Wow.
Hits like 7 degrees Celsius, that's it for pants. Get rid of them. Don't eat them.
That's awesome.
I'll be
thank you, Rain.
I will be showing off some leg in Las Vegas. Believe you me.
Oh, yeah. It should be really warm in Vegas, I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yeah.
What I would do for about a nice 60-degree day right now. Oh.
Yeah. It's funny that it rained when you came as well, but it was not that cold, right? When you came, it was okay.
It was still
not
warm.
Too bad.
It was still warm.
Yeah.
All the Texans in the chat room. It's all Texas and California and Nevada in here today.
Nice.
Yeah. They love you.
Oh, love you too.
Hey, there's Uncle Jimmy Goodall. He'll be here in Vegas. It was 95.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be talking some spy planes. He's going to sneak us into Area 51 on Sunday. Dada,
Oh,
how
wow.
are you? Big thank you to Allison, Lucy, Surf Jer with the hat trick, Candy, Obi Flat, Steve, and Gary for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate the love. Hi, One Love. Welcome back. And if you're a veteran listening to this show, you always have a safe home here in our chat room. Hang on out. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Geraldine Orozco is here for the Spiritual You, and we're going to get into some regression therapy coming on up here. Geraldine's website, GeraldineOrozco.com. We love it when she's here because she literally can help counsel and heal through anything. She's that special and amazing. Geraldine, welcome back.
Thank you so much. Once again, so happy to be here again.
All right. Here's the big thing. It was a Sunday. It was in the afternoon in a small hotel room right by the airport. And here comes Geraldine with her boxing gloves on and literally knocks me out for a regression. Now, Geraldine, I got to tell you, I've never really had luck being regressed before. My spirit guides usually pull me on out. But literally, you hit me on the top of a head with a sledgehammer, and out I went. What the hell did you do? What the hell did you do to me?
You did. You went in pretty good. I think that was amazing. And I don't know if you remember what you looked at, but it was really interesting. Really interesting.
Well, I can.
How did you feel it from your end?
I felt like I was asleep. I know I caught myself snoring a few times, which embarrassed me. I have recall of maybe 5%. And I don't really remember too much. I know you have a recording of it. And I got to tell you, 3 days after, I see a UFO in the sky going over my house. 3 dots in a line.
Wow.
And I watched them pass through a cloud, and then they continued on. Mm-hmm. It was pretty cool.
That's amazing.
That was the first UFO I'd seen in almost 4 years.
Well, that was the thing that you were really looking to kind of open up. That was one of the things that you were wanting to take a look at. And you work with some pretty powerful beings that you have in you and around you. So, I think it's part of your opening. I think you were ready for that, And that's the amazing thing about hypnotherapy, that depending on where you're at in your journey, sometimes we create these limiting beliefs that we believe are going to protect us in some way. And then we kind of end up frustrated when we don't have the experiences that we think we want to have, or the life events, Once you remove those little limiting beliefs from the subconscious mind, that's where everything opens. Your vibrational frequency of your entire body literally shifts, and you become a resonance, like a magnet to these things. Now you're experiencing, now you're bringing those things into your life. So I'm hoping that that's just one thing that you're opening, and that you're going to open a lot more things, because there was many other things that you're going to be experiencing, I'm sure.
Okay. Do you think that UFO sighting was a direct result from the regression therapy?
Well, I think you need to take a look at that. We talk about ET contact, right? But I think that before we think about the external doing things to us, we need to realize that we project everything. So in essence, we become in alignment to seeing it. There's probably UFOs all over us all the time, but it isn't until we come into a vibrational alignment to be able to connect with this kind of consciousness that we can actually see and connect with it. So I think that you have shifted your vibrational frequency in order to be able to connect with something like that, and that's all you. That's your work, That's your willingness to go beyond limiting belief systems. And so this is something that we can all do with anything in our life.
Okay, so what did you release in me? Because I got to admit, the past week and a half or so, maybe it was just the travel of actually getting out of my community or whatever, even though I was in the airport for 12 hours on Monday. Oh, I haven't even told you that story yet. But
Oh, no.
But nonetheless, yeah, I missed my early flight, by the way. I missed it.
No.
Yeah, that's okay. Air Canada took good care of me. But nonetheless, I got to admit, I feel much more happy, much more balanced and grounded. Areas where I would usually feel myself starting to blow up, I am now kind of like, okay, let's breathe this through, man. Let's take it for what it's worth. So is that part of everything?
Absolutely. And one of the powerful things, and I'll use your hypnotherapy as an example, Dave, because you were able to connect with your higher self. And your higher self is really powerful. I mean, it's very clear. It doesn't have any kind of doubts about what's happening. When you open that channel, the thing is, a lot of us, because we are too engaged in the physical world, we completely forget that we are more than the physical body. And then we're like little, it's almost like little groundhogs that keep repeating the same little thing over and over again, okay? So when you begin to connect with your higher self, now you are literally shifting the vibrational frequency of this fractal that is experiencing the human experience, and you begin to see things from a broader perspective, not from just limited perspectives of limiting beliefs. And that's kind of what you did. And this is the power of hypnotherapy. This is what we do in the session. You connect with your higher self. You communicate. Your higher self speaks through you and allows you to, it shifts everything. And it releases things that we are in denial of. Sometimes we ignore emotions, our fears, our doubts, our even things that make us very angry in our life about things that are happening in our life. Feelings of helplessness. We begin to voice those things, and just voicing and connecting them allows you to release heavy, heavy patterns of energy in your physical body. And we did an entire body scan in your session where you were able to let go of all of those. So we cleared all 13-dimensional layers of your body, and that immediately lightens up anything that's heavy in the body. And sometimes people, it takes a couple weeks for them to actually begin to feel that. They will notice, just like you, things that trigger them are not triggering them as much because you were able to walk through it. And the thing about hypnotherapy is that we're working in the subconscious level of your mind. So it's more long-standing side effects. It is reprogramming belief systems in a very profound way. So it's a powerful technique that can be utilized for anything that you want to change in your life.
All right. So it would behoove my listeners if we didn't get into some of the things that we talked about. I know we had written down a bunch of questions. Number one was why my ET contact and my sightings of UFOs had stopped. Now, do you recall the conversation, kind of? Because you were kind of conscious and lucid while that was going on. I was not.
Yes, of course. I do. I think the primary belief system is that there was some fear, and there was a disconnect with what we were experiencing and why. And there was frustration with the self, feeling that we could have experienced things, and we were blocking ourselves. We doubted, I think, ourselves at some point, and maybe even became afraid. I think that something something that we saw in the unknown made us feel scared, and to a point where we wanted to kind of stop that contact for a moment because it was too much to handle. And I hear this all the time. This happens a lot in contact. It can go two ways. It can go in the direction of all contact stops, no more, or it can go in the direction of contact continues, but it's a really low vibrational contact, and then people get very traumatized by that. So again, we need to understand we are the creators of that. All those subconscious beliefs are projecting to the reality. And for you, it was that belief system. So once you were able to lift that and then feel forgiveness for Dave in those experiences, you can shift, and now you are open to this kind of contact.
Wow. So the aliens weren't mad at me.
No, I mean, you are them. They are you. They're a part of you. I mean, remember, our holographic DNA is holding all of these species within us. We are all of them. And they basically are just expressing themselves through these experiences for us to meet ourselves. So you are super powerful in these realms. That means also a lot of responsibility. It means that you have a lot of work to do here in this world, and that you have a mission here. So we have to really honor that mission. Once you guys get your mission, please listen to that, because otherwise we become sick, we block ourselves, and we create problems that are unnecessary. So it's important to listen to that calling, whatever it is.
Okay, so this one of the other questions that I had asked regarding the contact and the ETs was there was a big difference between seeing UFOs and getting shut down there and my ET contact. So what was happening with the ET contact in that respect?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's the things go hand in hand, right? So when our vibrational frequency is off, we can't align with these beings. ET contact is very much a personal thing. And when we stop our spiritual work, we also stop that. That's why we have to continue the spiritual work. What is the spiritual work? It's deprogramming of limiting beliefs, fear-based programs, angers, resentments, doubts that we have towards ourselves and others. All that stuff has to be deprogrammed so that we can open space. We can activate our genetic code so that we can begin to work with the holographic field, which is our multidimensionality. All of these beings and experiences that we're having are encoded in the DNA. And so by activating that DNA, you have access to this information. And a lot of times we find out that the ET contact that we have has been running in our family lineages. So a lot of times I see that the beings that are coming up for people, these are beings that have been with the family lineage for a long time. And I think that you actually have that in your bloodline, Dave. You have a very strong and very important bloodline. You're a descendant from a really strong bloodline that has work to do here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the opportunities that you have in your life today. And that's kind of the amazing thing that we discover through these experiences and through hypnotherapy as well. And you understand who you are better. So it's an inside job, again. And once you activate that, you can open up yourself to all kinds of wonderful things, amazing things, healing, advancement, all kinds of things.
Absolutely. And the one thing about it is I think it really showed for me how much, pressure I put on myself, not only to run this show, but, I mean, when you're in the entertainment business like I am, everything has to be perfect, always. You can do a 99% show, a 98% show, but you hit that 90% or 80% show, you just kick yourself in the butt so hard, thinking, my God, I suck at this. What am I doing behind a microphone? You're your own worst critic. And I think what it did was it helped me realize that it's okay to have a little bit of imperfection.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, you see. And then, but is it even imperfection? Is it even imperfection? It's just tiny little belief systems that we have. Maybe it's just self-doubt, and that self-doubt doesn't allow you to be your best, And so when you understand that, you don't need to judge your actions, it relieves all of this heavy pressure and stress off the things that you're doing, and it comes out as more authentic. I think that authentic connection to yourself and what you're doing opens up space for you to do something even greater than you even think you're possible, of doing. So these are important things. And, I think the key is awareness. I think the more that we're aware of ourselves, we listen to ourselves in the moments that we begin to feel doubt, anxiety, stress, we need to pay attention to ourselves. Why are we feeling that way? What do we need in that moment? And address it as we go, not just ignore it and keep going, because a lot of us tend to just ignore the things that are triggering us and the things that are causing anxiety, and it just takes us in directions that we don't even want. We create more problems for ourselves. So I think we can open up in more expansive ways by coming more into a state of constant observation, constant attention. And that really is what self-love is, isn't it? It's that you are addressing those things for yourself as you go. That's how we become really, really powerful humans and creators on all dimensional planes. Another thing that's really been coming up this week is that, it's amazing how we learn the lessons that we learn in our human life with our human friends and family and this experience. We're also transcending them in this higher dimensional planes. And it's really funny, like the same lesson of ourselves, like self-doubt, for example, when you go up into these higher realms, you're also learning that same self-doubt in a different way. It can be you yourself and interacting with beings and entities, creating these scenarios. And all that we're learning, if you look at it from the bigger picture, if you pan out, the human is learning how to navigate the unknown constantly. And the unknown, we can't control. The only thing we can control is ourselves, the perception. That's it. So that's where the focus has to be on. That's where our power is as humans.
Very true. Geraldine Orozco is our guest tonight for The Spiritual You. Geraldine, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm blanked on everything else that we talked about. Everything. Do you have any other juicy stuff that you could give our audience that maybe I was stupid and foolish to be saying?
No, every session is very personal to the human. There's so much that came up in your session that I think has a lot of meaning and understanding and very key information, even information about the people that are with us in our lives. They help us understand why we are connected the way we are in this world. A lot of your contact that you've had as well, that you were talking about being on board crafts and the people that were there with you and the experiences that you've had, there are many shared experiences. And I think that they're important to help us understand the bigger picture of contact, but more importantly, help you understand and integrate your purpose in your life and why things are the way they are today in your life, So it's the key is that you understand why you feel the way that you do in this session. So as you listen to your regression over, you're going to listen to it a couple times, you'll be able to understand yourself more too. And I think that'll help integrate, and that's really important. Once you get your hypnotherapy, to take time to listen to it a couple times, and it'll bring you back into that vibrational frequency. It will connect you. It will strengthen that connection again.
Well, so you know what? You know what? I agree with you. And I'm going to be honest with you. I was very skeptical going in. Very, very skeptical. And I even told the audience that. Very skeptical. I wasn't sure what's real, what's not. Am I actually talking? Am I actually out? Am I actually hypnotized? Or am I absolutely just having my mind played with? And it was a different experience, man. It was a totally different experience that I'd never really expected, because I had been to regression therapists a couple times before, and I would start going through the, relax session, when you're setting it up, trying to get me to go under, and all of a sudden I would hear my spirit guides in my head laughing, kind of saying, hey, what are we doing this for? This is a waste of time. We're not giving up any secrets. Screw this, lady. We're not doing this. We're not playing this game. And yet with you, I was just zonked.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that we have to feel comfortable with the person. We have to trust who we're working with. That's really important. And obviously, you and I are friends for a long time. So, I mean, I think that there was that trust there to be able to feel safe
True.
enough to go into these places of vulnerability, which is great. And I think that, you went in and out. The longer the session was, and the session was about 2 hours around that time and a little bit more.
Was it that long?
The deeper yeah, it was quite long, yes.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I know. Usually for most people it feels like an hour or sometimes even 30 minutes. You don't realize how much time goes by. But in that whole session, the deeper you go in, the more connected, the more you integrate the higher self into the physical. That's the amazing thing. So I always wait for the end of the session where all the juicy stuff really comes out, the really deep stuff. And you were going through layers and layers and layers of information until you went deeper and deeper. So you were able to see fragments of yourself. It was amazing. I mean, it blows my mind, that kind of stuff that you.
I can't wait to hear the tape because I refused to record it. I did, right off the bat. And
I told you, thank God I recorded it.
Well, here's the thing. I thought it was only like 20 minutes.
No, yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize it was 2 hours. Okay, and, I didn't snore too much, did I?
That's totally fine, Dave. You did snore in the session.
Wow.
But, you were still completely conscious, though. You were still communicating, even though you were snoring and moving. When I would tell you to breathe, you would breathe. When I would tell you to, move into a different space, you would move into that space. So you were in hypnosis. And this is the funny thing. People don't understand. They think hypnosis is like you're asleep, you're done, you're out of it. And it's not. It's an in-between state. You're in a different level of your brain waves where you're accessing in between the conscious and subconscious mind, So that's where you can start accessing some really interesting things. And my suggestion, the way I handle my hypnotherapies is like, look, you're going to come here and you're going to explore. You're going to use your imagination, and whatever happens, you're just going to allow it to come through. Because that's where you really begin to let go of your need to control. Because as soon as you try to control it, that's it. You're not going to get anything. People get very frustrated. They're like, I see a clown, I see a ball, I see an abstract circle, and then they get stuck. They think there's nothing there. But when you start describing what you're seeing, going into the details, you're starting to work the subconscious mind. It begins to go into that thread of thought, and it opens up an entire experience for them. From that clown, they go into a whole experience, and we have to understand that the brain is also learning through this process of unwrapping the layers of your subconscious mind. So we're going to start with something abstract, but what you're going to end up with is some really, really interesting information. So everything counts,
Well, this goes a lot deeper than what I'm even thinking right now. Because literally, I have maybe, 5% of recall right now? I mean, this is. I don't even know. I don't even know what you were talking about. I hope I didn't do anything embarrassing. Now I'm feeling a little red in the face here. Like, I just don't let anybody hear me snore.
No, it was great. You did amazing.
Wonderful. We got about a minute left here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Geraldine Orozco's The Spiritual You is underway, and when we come back from the break, we will take a bunch of questions, because I know there are already a bunch of questions in our chat room for you, and I'll get those listeners to retype those when we get back. And we are going to continue on with a little bit more of the regression therapy talk. I'm telling you guys, I was 100% not sold, unbelieving of this phenomena. And when you find the right person, like I did with Geraldine, it's thrown me for a loop. It has changed my skepticism. And now, where I was before, like, I don't need to record it, now I'm kicking myself in the butt that I didn't record the event. Now I got to wait for Geraldine to send it to me, which is probably going to be on, like, a huge file, but I know she will. Yeah,
I can upload it for you while we have tonight's conversation, actually.
All right. We have Geraldine Orozco, GeraldineOrozco.com. is her website. She's here for another hour on The Spiritual You as she pops by once a month to hang out with us and talk all things consciousness, extraterrestrial, Zen, Chi, and she'll even align your chakras for free. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. All right, we're clear.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
So let me upload your thing. I'll be right back. I'm gonna start that. I'm gonna start that up so you can take it with you and listen.
I'll be right back too.
Okay.
right. Old Davy's back. Hi, Knight Rider. How you doing? Good to see you. And Lunar Tina, thanks for coming on in. The lovely Sinead Wellahan. How are you? Let's see, who else is joining us here? Music Maker fan, how you doing? All right. If you want to start putting your questions in, you can do that now for Geraldine. And I know there's a couple in here already that I've got. So thank you for that. And a big thank you to Allison, Lucy, Surf Jair ×4, Candy, Obi Flat, Steve, and Gary for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very much for that. Very much appreciated. And just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions. All right, so we're going to start here and go from there. The unknown, we were talking about my regression therapy. Here we go, everyone. Geraldine, we're ready.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Aberticular is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio, Instagram @SpacedOutRadio Show, and on TikTok @SpacedOutRadio. Geraldine Orozco, the spiritual you. It happens once a month here on the show where Geraldine comes on in to talk about our Zen, our Shi, lining our chakras, and telling us about all the aliens in our life that we have no clue about. Her website is GeraldineOrozco.com. And Geraldine, we're going to get to some questions from our audience here. We're going to start off with ERRT Radio, who is asking, are there any risks with regression therapy?
I think that you, as a person wanting to get therapy, you have to decide that you're ready for therapy. And what does that mean? That you have to be clear about your intention and what you're looking to achieve with the therapy. And you have to find a good therapist that you can connect with that will be able to listen to what your needs are and intuitively work with you to be able to provide a safe environment in which you yourself will be able to access the information that is necessary for you in a compassionate way. This really speaks to the therapist. The therapist has to be intuitive enough and practiced enough, with experience enough, empathic enough to understand where they need to get the information. There are some therapists that I have seen, even public therapists that post their regressions publicly, that they are more interested in getting information, for example, or, prying into the mind of the subconscious of a person, of a subject. And this can be very dangerous because sometimes they can access parts that the person isn't ready, and then they have a hard time integrating. So this hypnotherapy is a very, very delicate dance between your therapist and your healing. This tool is specifically for you to heal, and it is a really, really powerful tool. Remember that hypnotherapy is used in mass hypnosis in our society in many different ways, through music, through technology, through television. Even the patterns of light that are being emitted by the TV screen create a hypnosis feeling in us when we're watching it. And so most of the time we walk around in hypnosis. We're trained. We're basically in our nervous system trained to check out of the body. And when we check out of the body, it's easily to insert subliminal messages, subconscious messages, make you feel certain ways, like you're hungry, for example, or that you want to go do something, or whatever it is. They insert these things into by using and manipulating your emotions and your feeling body. So that being said, hypnotherapy can be used for good and for bad, and we just have to learn how to utilize that to expand ourselves, to access the key information. If hypnotherapy is so powerful to be able to move generations of people into thinking and doing things in our world today, imagine what it could be used if we utilize it to help us expand, to heal the inner child, to unlock limiting belief systems, to access information about ourselves that will help us feel more empowered. This is the proper usage of hypnotherapy. So I think that once you are clear of why, this is why I have my clients write questions for what they want to address. And through those questions, I help design the session for them. And I know when to ask the questions at what point, depending on how deep in their hypnosis they are, in order to create the most long-lasting effects from inserting the subconscious thing. So for example, if someone comes and says, I have a problem with self-doubt, okay, so we formulate the hypnotherapy so that every moment of that hypnotherapy is focused on helping unlock parts of self-doubt. And at the end of that, they completely understand. And sometimes it's done in such a wonderful way, and you help do this with your own subconscious mind. Your higher self is ready to take you where you need to go. It knows the lifetimes it wants to show you, the scenarios that you need to see in order to help support that. But that happens when we hold space as a therapist for that to happen. It's really, really important. So in this way, it can be utilized for good and for bad. And I think when you find a good therapist, you can get a lot done pretty quick.
Very cool. Let's get to Mr. Man, Mister. Are there good and bad beings in the astral plane? If so, can they control things in this reality?
Okay, so let's talk about these beings in these interdimensional planes. Now, what are we? What is this human experience? We are these, imagine yourself as this organism. You are made out of all the dimensional planes. You're made out from the root chakra, the first plane, up into the 13th dimensional plane, and even beyond. But most of us really, we barely touch up to the 7th dimensional plane of our body. When we're kind of having interdimensional contact, we're navigating the 10th, 11th, 12th dimensional plane of the body. So what does that mean? Through our vessel, we are merging with other vessels, me and you, for example, to co-create experiences. And we do that individually and we do that collectively. So on Earth, we have a kind of a collective experience. What are we here to experience? Duality. Duality means that we're experiencing the light, the dark, and in that we have a spectrum of vibrational frequency that we are in us and outside of us experiencing, okay? So all of these different species that we see, I would love for you to look at them more as vibrational frequency rather than, let's say, draconian to Arcturians, grays, like all those Lyrans, everything that you can think of in between. And think of that you're meeting vibrational frequencies. They are genetically modified. Each of these species are a cocktail of DNA anyway, just like you and me. And through our access vibrational frequency, we are meeting these species in our experiences. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is very important. This is high level stuff, but I think you guys are ready for that because you guys are listening to this ET concepts for a long time. So we want to understand what it means to meet these aspects of ourselves. When our vibrational frequency is in low and we think of things as separate and parasitic all the time, we come more in contact with these parasitic aspects, these entities, these beings, this ET consciousness that is draining life force, whatever it is. We come more in contact with that. When we shift our frequency, we have access to higher dimensional beings. In my opinion, everything within this 13th dimensional construct is experiencing duality. So we're going to be experiencing some kind of exchange, whatever it is. And depending on our level of awareness that we have on these dimensional planes, the more control and over our perception and how we interact we're going to have. So let's say these beings come and we're dealing with something like archons, for example. What are the archons? Archons are these consciousness that are feeding off human fear, human suffering, pain, helplessness, the destruction of all that is divine, creative life force, inverted sexuality, sexual energy, all of those things, they feed off that, okay? That is a representation of our own aspects of ourselves that are inverting those things. And this is how we come in contact. That's how we become aware of those things. So the system, the matrix, works from the inside out. Everything that we haven't cleared in our own organism, we're going to be experiencing and we're going to be bringing into the collective. And it's important to realize that because right now, for example, we have war going on, all kinds of things, and we're going to really majorly go into major changes in the collective in the next few years, actually, till 2024, which means that we need to be very careful what we are bringing into the collective space. These beings that are interacting with us on these other dimensional planes play a role in the next step of evolution because the veil is thinning, in other words, but what it means is that we're activating higher levels of our own dimensionality, and that will allow us to have more access to contact. We're going to have more contact collectively. People are going to remember their contact collectively more. We're going to have intuitive abilities that are heightened, telepathic abilities, all of that is now. We're learning how to remote view. These are tools that we need for the future. So collectively, we need to choose carefully what we're going to experience. And so I think that a lot of these parasitic systems in our society know that, and they can use that in order to manipulate the way that we feel about things. So we got to get clear about our input.
All right, let's move on. Acreon wants to know, what do you think about breatharianism?
Okay, so my perception of breatharianism is this. I think that it's something that definitely can be achieved, but I think that in order to achieve that, you have to change your lifestyle completely. You can't be going to a 9-to-5 job and doing that like a regular crazy busy lifestyle, the way we live in America, for example. We're always like working very busy. Why? Because our energy is depleted through that because of our lack of awareness and training. In order to do something like breatharianism, for example, which is an absolute mastery of your life force, it's a cultivation of life force. It means that you understand how your energy works in your body and that you know how to cultivate and generate it. And people that know how to do that understand how to have complete mastery over their emotions. They know how to heal themselves and begin to move energy constantly, like Qigong, like breath work. Okay, that's all energy. They're doing yoga, they're connecting, and their rhythms of their body are in alignment with cycles of the earth. Okay, so they're sleeping really early in order to regenerate their organs, in order for it to be completely clockwork. This is really important. If you're not doing those things, and you're trying to just detox until you don't eat, that's not going to work. You have to sit down and you have to do a lot of meditation work. You have to learn how to master that. And then you can kind of go into that kind of realm of work. And there's many people that teach that, and it's wonderful if it's in alignment with your lifestyle. But if it's not, because I have clients that have done that and they have really busy lifestyles and then they get sick, this is about energy. We can cultivate life force, and we can sustain without food if we understand that our food is energy. And that means that you have to understand how to feed yourself with that energy and how to eliminate what doesn't serve you. Otherwise, you become depleted. So that's my opinion about that.
All right. I just like eating. I'm not going to lie. I just like eating. Yeah, breatharianism just is not for me. One Love wants to know, how do we align our own chakras ourselves?
Okay, so the chakra system essentially is our multidimensional body. Again, the first chakra reflects into the first realm, the second body, the third, up until the 13th dimension. We have all of these chakras. The chakras are projection of here. Okay, the chakras are interconnected to the endocrine system. They're connected to organs in the body. This whole physical body is like a router. It's receiving input and output, enfolding and unfolding information in your toroidal field. Okay, when we are, putting things into the body unconsciously, they deposit into the body because it's everything. We're vibrational beings. So all the things that we're experiencing and seeing externally, they're like wavelengths of data. Okay, so if it's really heavy stuff like traumatic experiences, imbalanced relationships, fights, problems, stress, all of that are specific wavelengths that are moving at specific rates. And so our body absorbs those, processes it through the body, and deposits it into the body. It becomes crystallized, but when it's negative, it becomes stagnant and doesn't allow the energy to flow through the body. So what we need to do first is become aware of the body. What are you holding on to right now? Are your muscles super tight? Are you holding on to anger, resentment, all these emotions that you have going on? Are you even aware of what you're feeling? That's the first step. So you're going to just become aware of those emotions. You're going to work with your energy and your nervous system to begin to come into a state of balance and neutrality. And then as you work with each one of the chakras, the layers, this is constant awareness, let go of the things that are blocking your ability to come into a state of neutrality. Okay, so our state of neutrality is a state of observer that we want to try to come into as much as possible. This is the most liberating state in which you can be. And this is actually the only time that we humans actually have free will and the ability to co-create. So that's really, really important. It's really powerful stuff. So you can start simply spinning the chakras super fast, and just imagine that you have a hose of white light, really easy visual that anybody can do. And just imagine that you allow that white light to clear out any kind of mud or debris that you have on the chakras until they're crystalline. Crystalline red, if you see your first chakra as red, not everybody has to have those same colors. You can tune in to what color they are, and clear out the 7 chakras. Most importantly, activate the crown. Okay, so that's really quick. You can learn more about that on my YouTube channel at Geraldine Orozco on YouTube. I have a lot of videos on that you can check out.
All right, Surf Jer, who's one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show, he goes, what if you just want to shut down years?
Can you clarify that for me? Well, shut down years. Is it just a lot of traumatic experiences in the past?
I would assume so, considering he's a veteran.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. The problem is that when we go through really traumatic experiences, remember that we choose our life experiences by resonance. We literally, as a soul, we are attracted to the families that we come into with the roles, the stories, the traumas, the historical cyclical patterns that we incarnate into. Okay, so even our experience in the military or with our families or these wars that happened are all pre-designed because your soul was able to handle that kind of thing. It has an opportunity to be able to overcome limitations from those experiences. So what does that mean? It means that, we got to do a little bit of work. So it doesn't mean that we have to revisit those lives, but we do need to recover from the emotional trauma because you can never run away from that. That's literally encoded in your nervous system, in your muscle system, especially if we have any kind of illnesses or disabilities of any kind. We have to take a look at the body and see what is stored there, because what happens is that becomes a pattern that we keep repeating in our life. And when you think you want to move on with your life and, let's say, have a family, let's say, change your life, start a new career, whatever it is, you're never going to get to that point because you keep repeating certain patterns. So the most loving thing to do is to address the patterns. You don't need to relive the past. Address the patterns, and that will completely resolve and release, neutralize the stagnation of the memories that are causing a traumatic effect in our life. And we won't even need to be triggered by the memories. We don't need to revisit them necessarily, just the repetitive pattern. That's all. And really, just to give you a quick tune into what that is, you're just learning how to choose from love and fear. That's all we're learning. And if you learn how to choose more from love than fear, we heal, we become more expansive, we can create, we can really change our lives. So much can happen from that. So that's an amazing question. Thank you for asking.
All right, let's go to EMF. Do most of your clients video the session?
Do most of your clients video the session? Yes. As a matter of fact, the majority of my clients are virtual internationally. I work with people from all around the world, and we do it through Zoom. So we can record it through the video here. You just need a microphone and a headset, good internet, and we can do the session. Pretty easy.
Solus One is asking, are those that are manually and instantly raised Kundalini rare?
Are those that are
manually and instantly raised Kundalini rare?
Yeah, so the thing about Kundalini, which was a really huge thing, I think, in the 70s, I think that was a really huge thing. Please don't quote me on it. I don't know what year, but I think the thing is that it's a little bit older way of looking at things. And I think we've kind of evolved from that because we've learned a little bit more about what we are as a multidimensionality. Kundalini awakening is just one of the awakenings that we have to experience through this spiritual experience. And it's about the root sacral energy, okay? And they are the most important because those are the things that allow us to ground, to feel safe in the body, and also our sexual energy, our exchanges, okay? So that's really super important, and it really affects every aspect of our life. How can we tune into that kind of Kundalini awakening is by healing the fragments that are created from trauma in any of those areas where we feel unsafe, disconnected, areas where we have trauma with sexuality and money or lack, for example, poverty. All those things are linked to that. But the purpose of that is that we learn how to transmute lower thought forms, blockages in the body, into life force that begins to nourish the brain, the body. The amygdala comes online. The amygdala clears, neutralizes, activates. The pineal gland begins to activate. You are opening your third eye, your intuition. We can only access that tool by clearing the lower bodies. That's what that's about. And there's processes to that. There's breathing exercise, meditations that you can do in order to learn how to transmute, as well as sexual energy practices that you can do that are taught, for example, by, I forget his name right now, Chia. Mr. Chia, I forget his name, Dr. Chia. If anybody in the chat knows who I'm talking about, please let me know. I think his name is Montauk Chia, right? So please check him out. I just have a tough time remembering names, but he has an incredible book on how to transmute sexual energy, and this will help you begin to generate and clear that out. Okay, and yeah, so is it rare? I don't think it's rare. I think we have the ability to do that at any time. We just need to focus and do some of that work.
All right, we got a minute. Let's get one more question in. Robert is asking, is regression therapy just for contactees, or can it be used to uncover past lives? 40 seconds.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Hypnotherapy can be used for any kind of transformational, blockage removing therapy that you are looking to do. So thank you for that. You can use it for past lives. You can use it for smoking cessation, losing weight, healing yourself from illnesses. All of this can be used because the power of the mind and the connection to the body is one of the most powerful things. We realize that we are a hologram that we master. So we basically tell the body what it needs to be doing in order to come into its highest expression. So it's a really powerful tool.
Beautiful. We have Geraldine Orozco here for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio for the Spiritual You. Geraldine comes on once a month to discuss our Zen, our Chi, align our chakras, and of course, everything to do with extraterrestrials. You can find her website at GeraldineOrozco.com. We'll be back with more audience questions and Geraldine for the final half hour of Hour 2 next on Spaced Out Radio. Guess it's the only final half hour of Hour 2. Bad English there, Dave. Oh, well.
Awesome. I'm going to grab water. I'll be right back.
You go right. You go. We got time. Dave is not wearing a man bun. Okay? It is a ponytail. No man bunning. Shame on you, Thomas. But thank you for the super chat. Christoph, what's going on? Surf Chair, I'll get to that question here in a bit. All right. Good night, Mr. James Goodall. We love you, man. You're a legend. Absolute legend. Sasquatch does not come from Atlantis. Who else is here? Lots of new people in here tonight. Thank you so much for hanging on out with us. If you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell. We're here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. Eric Cooper, are you growing the beard again? Please give us an update on that. Raw Dog, welcome to SOR. I'm pretty sure Geraldine can make tortillas. Yeah, sold us one. Geraldine is amazing. And you know what? She's even more amazing when you get to meet her in person. Believe you me. She's amazing. Justin Maynard, good to see you. Kira, are you wearing a beard for Vegas? By the way, Kira, you'll notice I put in another tank top in our SOR store. Every time I look to do something, I'm looking at these tank tops. If you haven't seen some of our new swag that we've got at the store here, let me show you. Hold on. Share. There we go. Here's some of our new swag. We got the concert shirt. This is the tank top to it. World Tour 97. You'll notice the triangular guitars, otherwise known as the Flying V's. And, is that a Phoenix? Yes, the Phoenix World Tour 97. I hope you notice the play on that for the Phoenix lights. I think it's great. Just saying. What else do we have here? Let's go back. All right, I added these today. A couple of Bigfoot shirts. Got this one here, if you're Canadian or you want a Canadian one. And then I got this beautiful American one here that I put up right there. Isn't that beautiful? I like it. Got Bigfoot shirts. Who can't handle this one? UFOs and tacos. Right there. You don't get much better than that. UFOs and tacos. Look how yummy that shirt looks. Just saying. I got this one today in the mail, so I ordered this one for myself. Your Team Lazar t-shirt. Who doesn't want to support Bob Lazar? And what else? Oh, yeah. We needed some. I sent this one to Bumblefoot today. Little alien playing a guitar right there. Gotta admit, let's rock. SOR. Right there. Beautiful. What else did we put up? New water bottles. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with Geraldine Orozco. The Spiritual You continues right now. We're asking audience questions. Geraldine's website, GeraldineOrozco.com. Let's get right to it, Geraldine. Thank you so much for being here. Stephanie is asking, what are the names of your alien babies? I saw you speak in Sedona a few years back. It was great. Namaste, Geraldine.
Hi, Stephanie. So great to connect with you. Thank you so much. My alien babies. Well, the thing is that I have 24 hybrid children in 4 different programs, and not all of them necessarily have names, even though they all have specific agendas and things that they're designed to do. From the children that were created through the Pleiadian agenda, are the ones that I actually met in 2013 in person, consciously. And 4 of those presented themselves to me, but their names are not names that we can say in the English language. They are in light language, in Pleiadian language, and they sound very tonal and very kind of etheric is kind of the best way I can describe it. It's more like sounds of music, kind of like that. So it's a little bit different. They don't have like human names like you and I. So yeah, that's the best way to answer that.
Yeah, mine are all heavy metal, just so you know.
Oh yeah?
All heavy metal.
There you go.
Let's go to Yay. My question is, what does Geraldine think about taking pharmaceutical drugs for anxiety or depression?
I think that if your doctor has prescribed them to you, that you need to take them. But I also prescribe, I suggest that you, at the same time as taking them, that you begin to look for other ways to help support yourself to wean off them when you're ready. I know that some of these drugs can be very addictive. And for a lot of people, they actually limit their ability to be their true self. A lot of times they feel really bogged down and heavy and sometimes unable to think as clear as they want to think because some of these drugs quite interrupting the regular patterns of energy flow in the body. Okay, it's an overlay that simulates the sensation body, but severely cuts you off from your nervous system and from feeling emotions. And that can help temporarily, especially when you're going through a crisis or when you're trying to heal from something traumatic. But I highly, highly strongly suggest to please try to find the therapy and support necessary to help you work through those heavy emotions. Because depression, remember, depression is pressing. It's like suppressing emotions. That's really what it is. When we don't process the emotions, it becomes too overwhelming and it takes over our perception of everything. And this is what happens. And we lock ourselves up and we feel safer away from everything that can trigger those feelings. So the thing is to feel those emotions, and it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, but what you'll find is that the emotions actually begin to dissipate. And they have a lot of information when you pay attention to the emotions as they dissipate. And some of these things is we need to learn how to be comfortable with truth. Sometimes seeing our own truths, seeing truths about things that have happened to us can be very difficult. And this is where we have to mature as individuals, as souls, because the human experience can be very challenging, very hard, very traumatizing. So we have to nurture ourselves. We have to love ourselves so much enough to nurture ourselves through that process of looking at difficult truths. This is how we liberate ourselves and expand from a depressive state. So I highly suggest to please do that work in addition to your, medicines and that you're taking, and hopefully wean off that so that you can be self-sustaining, because we are designed. We are absolutely designed. There's no one broken. No one is done for life. No one is completely hooked on things for their life. You can always change your entire makeup because you literally can tell your DNA what to produce. You can change yourself completely. So you need to remember that and use that as an empowering reminder.
Do you mind if I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Because I also suffer from depression and anxiety that I am very open with and very proud to talk about, because I don't think we talk about that subject very much, even though a lot more people these days are suffering from it, more so than any other time in the history of humankind. And I have been med-free since January of 2024, or 2014, pardon me. And what did it for me was... 2015. I apologize. What did it for me was doing this show. And knowing that I ended off my day on a natural high, which was very positive for me, it really helped me sleep better at night, and it allowed me to have a calm brain at night and to relax, and allowed me just to take my time and realize that I ended doing something very positive. Television is not positive. If you're listening to this radio show and you're getting a good challenge out of it, use something like that. Okay? So that's what I did. Every now and again, I admit I do have a relapse into my depression or my anxiety. But for the most part, because of this show and the positivity that happens to me personally by hosting this show, it's given me enough positive energy to get that natural high where I don't need the medication anymore. So my suggestion would be find something that allows you to end every day on a big positive for you. Whether it's hosting your own podcast or YouTube channel, or doing something like doing your hair before bed. Just something that you're going to give yourself a victory. Because we need more victories in life. Victories create positivity.
Wow, I love that so much. I mean, from the chemical side, you're really activating, that oxytocin, that delicious, joyful chemicals in the body that you can do through hobbies. Also movement, qigong, yoga, things to help you move that energy as well. Because sometimes with people with a lot of trauma, they can't always immediately sit with their emotions, so they need to move the body, and they can also release it through there. So, yeah, amazing. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. And while we're waiting for more audience questions regarding the idea of getting back to the regression therapy, at any time, can past lives jump into the conversation without being asked?
In hypnotherapy? Are you talking about in hypnotherapy?
Or regression therapy?
Yeah, absolutely. Which is the same. Regression therapy and regression is just a technique in hypnotherapy. So, okay. Yes, absolutely. At any time, you can jump into different timelines. It's really interesting because the higher self always knows. There's an incredible wisdom to your system. That's why this is such, in a sense, it's a very healing and very safe modality, because your higher self will take you exactly where you need to go. So sometimes it'll go to a past life where you are a warrior, whatever it is, and it helps you relive and experience parts of yourself that are dormant sometimes, that need to come up, that need to be expressed. We learn a lot through these past life experiences, and they remind us. Sometimes we get too stuck. Our vision becomes myopic in our everyday life experience. We forget that there's more, that we're more than just our lives. So the hypnotherapy and past life regression are great tools to help you access parts of yourself that you have forgotten about, to motivate you, to move you out of your funk, any kind of blockages that you have created.
Well, and that's exactly it. I mean, so if all of a sudden you're in therapy and there was, say, ET contact 3 lives ago in the 1700s, will that come up and connect?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think that actually something similar happened in your session, Dave, but I think it happens all the time in my sessions. Okay, so, you realize, and this is the beauty of interdimensional contact. Sorry, my audio was weird. This is the beauty of interdimensional contact and of accessing. How ET contact functions is that you're tuning into fragments of yourself. And these fragments are existing in other dimensional. There is no time. Everything's happening simultaneously. So you're tuning into that. You have access to anything infinitely. So you can access past lives, future lives, and we're constantly moving in hypnotherapy within all these ranges to get the information that you need. So, yeah.
All right, here's a question from Politically Incorrect. Can you get the same therapy from psychedelics as you get from regression?
No, and the reason why is because psychedelics will induce these chemicals and allow you to enter into these states. But it's a manufactured experience. It's constructed and it's induced by the psychedelic. Okay, so a lot of times what happens, and I'm really big on this, just as a psychotherapist and as working with hundreds of people that sometimes come to me after some of these psychedelic sessions and end up with really profound trauma, fragmentation, and the inability to reintegrate from those experiences. That's the worst part of it, that if you don't prepare properly, or that if you're not led by someone that is careful about how they're leading you through that process, psychedelics have to be combined with really heavy spiritual work. When it's not, you're basically going on a wild ride, a chemical ride, and you're going to feel and experience a snapshot of this spiritual realm, realities. You're going to look at fragments of yourself, but there's nothing to help you close that loop. There's nothing to allow you to reintegrate it and integrate it into the physical body. And this is a problem that we have with psychedelics, that people have to be very careful. When you do hypnotherapy, you are carefully and consciously walking through these experiences. You can have the same kind of experiences. You can access the same kind of information in a more calm and progressive manner in that session. But the beautiful thing about that is that it's going to link back to your current life, your subconscious mind. Your entire neural pathways are being rewritten in that moment in order for you to sustain healing throughout your entire connected organism. Because memories are not stored in just the brain. They're stored in the entire body. So when you access a past life memory of trauma, of someone, let's say stabbing you in the side, and in this lifetime you have liver problems and you don't know why, for example, you open up that memory, you start healing that past life, and all of a sudden the liver's healed. Now you don't have this problem in your current everyday life. You see, we created a loop, a connection, and so it can be very profound healing. With psychedelics, there's no container to help support that unless you're working with someone that's super psychic and that can travel along with you and help you integrate what you've experienced. So this is something that is really important that we need to talk about a little bit more, because psychedelics have become super popular, and we have rooms of 200 people going on trips, and all kinds of funny things can happen. People also take on entities that don't need to be coming into the physical body. That's a whole nother conversation. But
I gotta tell you something hilarious here. I recently found out through one of my clients, we were talking about the spirituality, because she was asking, her and her hubby were asking me how the radio show is going and all this, and she's like, hey, have you ever participated in one of those spiritual sessions in town? I said, no, I hadn't. She goes, okay, good. Well, apparently in my little town, what was happening was there was this group of people that would get together, and they would all start their meditation. They'd start doing these psychedelics, and the next thing you know, apparently they were inviting new people in all the time, because at the end it was turning into one giant orgy. And I was like, you got to be kidding me! You got to be kidding me!
That does happen. That does happen, and I don't suggest it, you guys. I'm sure it can be fun for a few minutes, but you know what? What's happening there is a tremendous exchange of energy. You're opening up your multidimensional body. I mean, when you're a psychic and you go see these things, you become horrified because you understand what's happening. And I mean, there's entities, life forces draining out of people. It's just a lot of unconscious behavior that just ends up with lifetime of trauma and problems later on that you don't want. So you have to really, I mean, everything is free will. There's nothing right or wrong. There's nothing good or bad. You're welcome to experience that, but you have to understand the consequences, of those kinds of things. That's it.
All right. Lara wants to know, have you found in your sessions that a current illness is caused by past life trauma?
Yes, absolutely. And this example that I'm telling you about the liver is actually a real case from one of my clients that experienced many lifetimes the same thing, that she was stabbed in, let's see, she was a Mongol warrior. Then she was working in the Inquisition. Then she was going as a warrior, American Indian warrior. Then she was in some galactic war, and the same thing kept happening over and over. What is the root belief system that was there? We got to look at the liver, for example. In this example, the liver is connected with processing heavy emotions. It's right here in the solar plexus, and it primarily is the function to process and store the bile, which is caused by really heavy, strong emotions like anger and helplessness, okay? So imagine if you're in constant states of helplessness and anger, frustration, you're constantly running this bile, you're stressing the body to create a lot of inflammation in the body, number one. Number two, it completely takes the body out of balance. So this lifetime, she ended up with a really bad liver problem, to the point where she was dependent on the medical system like every single day. She couldn't even live her life. When she realized that this was the root cause, was this constant feeling of anger and helplessness, she started to work on that. And through the hypnotherapy, we revisited all the past lives to see the scenarios. The funny thing is that in this lifetime, it's the same story. She, as a child, was abused, had all kinds of things that made her experience the same thing. So when she reintegrated and healed from that, which means accepted the things that happened in her life, number one. Number two, forgave herself for anything that she took on that she didn't need. Number three, forgive others for the things that were happening to her as a result of that. And recognizing that she was actually not helpless in that she could provide herself. She is the source of her love, her happiness. When she did these things, immediately began to heal. and now she's perfectly fine, does not have that liver problem. So this is the power of healing through hypnotherapy and through this kind of deep understanding of the metaphysical and somatic root of these illnesses and imbalances in the body.
Acryong is asking, do you know any active elemental spirit? Rudolf Steiner said they are in our body, but I can't find any.
Oh, this is an interesting question. I'm not sure what Rudolf Steiner said about that particularly, so I would have to study his work and understand what he's referring to. But when you look at the metaphysical structure of the physical body, we contain within us all the elements of nature. Okay, in other words, we have the entire universe in our physical body. So from that perspective, it's very easy to tune in to these elemental forces, these manifestations, these projections through our physical body. And we can also master matter through the understanding of that. So we can connect with nature. I have some really amazing star children that can help make plants grow just by sitting there with the plant. The little leaves will open. I mean, just amazing things like that. They have a profound connection with nature because their vibrational frequency is in alignment with that frequency of nature. So we can at any time tune into that and communicate. If I may share the story about the fairy, Dave.
Sure. The fairy?
Yeah.
What fairy?
You saw a fairy. Remember that you saw this fairy being?
Yes.
Yeah. So your vibrational frequency was in alignment with that fairy and you were able to connect with that. So, this is how we connect with the elementals of nature, So, yeah, that's the answer.
All right. Sandra is asking, and this will probably be our final question for the night because we only have about just over 3 minutes. Yeah. Getting hit with seeing the number 8 energetically, why or what would it be?
Okay, so the number 8 represents the infinity sign. It represents infinite potential and it represents cyclical patterns. So 2 things can be happening here. And I want you to notice when you're seeing the number, it means that, number one, if what you're experiencing is kind of stressing and trying and it happens after you experience something stressing, it means that there's a pattern that needs to be break. It's a karmic cyclical pattern that you need to break. Number 2, it means from the positive perspective that you're coming into a higher level of awareness where you're beginning to, the opposite side, transcend these cyclical patterns. You're going into a higher level of dimensional creation. That means that what is the 8th chakra? It's the center of manifestation. You can tune in to amazing manifestation and co-creation at that moment. So whatever you're doing in the positive, it's telling you you're on track to manifest, and tune into that. I want you to activate your crown every time that you see that 8 number and really get clear about your intentions. Be mindful of your emotions and your subconscious beliefs.
Well, you know what? I'm going to add something to that because I have a question for Sandra, and I know our show is on a little bit of a delay here, but I'm wondering if the number 8 came into play with her recent becoming of a grandmother for the first time.
Wow, that's amazing. Absolutely.
Because you know what? My daughter is 23 years old. Her birth weight was 5 pounds, 13 ounces. And to this day, I see 513 everywhere.
Wow.
Everywhere. Yeah, it's insane. And I'm curious if it has anything to do with that. So I'm very thankful that you came in once again, Geraldine, for another wonderful show of The Spiritual You. We got about a minute left. Take your time and tell everybody where they can get a hold of you, your YouTube channel, and more information.
Yeah. Absolutely. So if you'd like to get a hypnotherapy with me or a DNA reprogramming, you can connect with me at GeraldineOrozco.com. And if you are an experiencer and you want to learn more about your ET contact, if you need support, you want to hear other people that have contact experiences, come and join our support group. We have it once a month, and then we have a workshop. You can visit that at hybridmother.com. You can also register on that website. and really, really trying to share more information on my YouTube channel. So please do come on to my YouTube channel at Geraldine Orozco and subscribe. And I'll be very happy to share so many videos on meditation and practices that you can utilize that are practical in your everyday life. So thank you so much for having me. It was such a joy as usual, and for your amazing questions, guys.
Geraldine, you are absolutely amazing. Much love from all of us at Spaced Out Radio, and we will see you in Vegas at the Golden Nugget, April 22nd to 24th for our SOR fan party, and Geraldine will be the one with the big hat blocking the sun, lying down at the pool, while old Davey will be in the poker room, by the way. And, of course, she'll be back next month with another edition of The Spiritual You. GeraldineOrozco.com is her website, and we thank her for coming on in. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Swamp Dweller has another great story for us, courtesy of the swamp. Beautiful show.
All right.
Beautiful
Thank you
show.
so much. Davey, I'm uploading your hypnotherapy right now, so I'll send you the link in a few minutes. Oh, here it is. It's done. Let me just send it over right now.
Woohoo!
Hey. All right. Much love, everyone. Good night.
You take care, my dear. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Geraldine Orozco. You know who's just as pretty as Geraldine? Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. There he is.
Less factual statement has never been made.
I'm trying to figure out tonight why my audio is so hot. Like, I have my gauges down big time, and I can't figure it out. But either way, I'm going to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, I'll do a tap dance.
Here we go.
Da-da-da. Uh-oh, it's Duked Out Radio time. Hey, John. Hey, Aluminium Scientist. Doug. Let's see. I got the chat room going here. Just in case you guys are wondering, I can see your comments in chat, but I cannot comment back or drop links or any of that stuff until after I'm off air and out of the green room. And then I can do it. Michael, Robin, woohoo, Chris. Who else am I missing here? In case I missed somebody, sorry I missed you. Hello, Sandra. Hello, TMI. Go, Teresa. Oh, I get to play Where's Waldo this week because I turned out another a research video last Sunday and immediately got flooded with timestamps and screen captures. So now I get to go spend a bunch of time doing a breakdown. Oh boy. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Tony. And yeah, it's fun getting them on camera and everything, but every time you get them on camera, you got to go do a breakdown, which is really time consuming. So it's kind of like blessing and curse and all combined. And then everybody gets to argue about it and go, that's pareidolia. Well, the pareidolia just ducked behind a tree, bozo. Go actually get that cataract surgery done that you've been putting off for 3 years. Hey, Mike, Steve, Nicola, because they don't have a door to knock on. Why do they knock on trees? They're signaling each other. And they're signaling each other about us sometimes. In areas I'm in, if there's humans around, they're not sure if they do 2 knocks. One is just letting the other one know, hey, I'm over here. Yeah, I know, Robin. I know. That's why it's going to take me a freaking week just to do a breakdown on it. You aren't the only one that's been sending me pictures with circles. And Christy found one that wasn't hiding very well. It was hidden behind branches down to its waist, and then you could see both of its legs all the way down to the ground. Well, you know, unless trees started growing hair on them, those aren't legs, guys. Hide a little better. Angels, hey. Kira. I got a couple interesting stories for you guys tonight that you should be interested in. One of them is a previously thought completely to be unknown until very recently. Movie about Bigfoot. And then another one is about the oldest Bigfoot photo that was ever taken, known so far. Yeah, Angels, that's what I saw in my first encounter, too. I was looking at this tree, and the second time I looked at it, I noticed it had 3 tree trunks all of a sudden. And although they were the same thickness, 2 of them had hair. It had like little snow dingle balls stuck in it. And so that was pretty much a dead giveaway that those weren't tree trunks. Yeah, actually, Joe, Bob Gimlin, the Gimlin of the Y, that does the animated breakdown things where he talks about different cases and stuff, just released a video on it a couple days ago. And he doesn't have the high quality picture, which I was just looking at on the internet tonight, but he does a really good breakdown, going through the whole process logically, what was going on to this picture and how is it that, except for very few researchers, nobody even knew it existed. I saw it years ago, but it was like, it's the really low resolution, lousy version that's been going around the internet. So it just it looks like a black outline, something black laying in the snow. When you see the much better version of it, it's like, oh yeah, you can tell what that is.
All right, Super Duke, we got a real short one tonight. It's only about just a hair over 4 minutes.
Oh no, so I have more time to fill. Okay, fine.
Yeah. I know.
Hey, Robert. Acryong, yes, they are all over the world. There's reports from all over the world. And pictures and video, too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joe, according to the information on that, that was a dead Bigfoot that the Hudson Bay Company had been involved in rubbing out.
Hold on, we only got about 15 seconds here, buddy. Thank you to all the super chatters tonight. Very much appreciate it. And all the veterans out there, we love you. You always have a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio. Here comes hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Aberticular. Aberticular is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head into the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is back with another spooky story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Hello, Swamp Dweller. I have been listening to your stories lately, and it's brought back some memories from about 5 or 6 years ago. For some context, I live in a very large and urban Texas city. My neighborhood, however, had a big problem with coyotes. Every night at around 4 a.m., my uncle would get home from work and come across this one large coyote lurking in our front yard. Now, my whole family dismissed this as just a coyote enjoying our garden, but I believe that it could have been something else, and here's why. It began in the summer after I finished 6th grade. As a teenager, I had nothing to do, so I would stay up very late texting friends or playing something. One night I was doing so when I heard tapping on my window. It was around 1 a.m., and since my window is on the side of the house, there was no way it could have been my uncle. Plus, it was way too early for him to be coming back home. I looked out the window after it happened, but there was nothing there. On the next night, at around the same time, I heard the tapping again. This time, it was followed by whistling. It was like they were trying to whistle that Twinkle Twinkle Little Star song, but it was all wrong. It was out of rhythm. Their voice kept breaking. I was frozen because I had never experienced anything like this at this hour. That morning during my breakfast, my uncle told us he saw a coyote lurking around the yard and to be careful whenever we go out. I thought the whistling would come back the next day, but to my astonishment, it did not. I did not tell my family about it because, let's face it, who would believe me if I said somebody was whistling Twinkle Little Star outside of my window? I didn't hear it again until the next summer. At around the same time, an entire year later, the whistling returned. When I first heard it, I thought my mind was playing tricks on me, but it was very clear. Now at this point, my uncle did not work overnight anymore, so he didn't see the coyotes, but my neighbors did. And the morning they told us that they saw a coyote in our front yard at night, the following night, the whistling began. I know I should have recorded it, but I always froze whenever I heard it. Skip forward another year. It was now summer, a summer of staying up late that I would hear whistling outside my window once again. So, to battle this, I would try to fall asleep listening to music. One night as I was drifting off, I heard a horrendous scream. Now, I would listen to metal music, but this scream was not in the song. I paused it, and it kept going. It was the loudest, ugliest, most terrifying thing I'd ever heard. It sounded incredibly high-pitched, like an infant, but somehow with developed vocal cords. I didn't sleep much that night, afraid I'd be woken up by the screaming. That morning, I asked around the house if they heard anything, but no one apparently did. I was entirely shocked because it was incredibly loud. Loud enough to go through my closed window. Since it would always happen 2 nights in a row, I thought it would happen again the next night, but thankfully it didn't. I never heard anything like it again, actually. Fast forward to this year, and I'm regularly listening to Skinwalker stories to help me pass the time at work, and it got me digging into their history. Now, I personally didn't see anything other than coyotes, but the way whistling and shape-shifting seem to be common signs of skinwalkers has me thinking, could this have been something malevolent or just a creep tormenting me at night? No one has seen any coyotes ever since that night that I heard the screaming, though, which is something else that I've also found very peculiar.
Very strange indeed. Thank you, Mr. Swamp Dweller, for another freaky episode of The Swamp here on Spaced Out Radio. You can find his thousands of stories by going to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. Hey, the guy's got almost 270,000 subscribers for a reason. Go hit up his channel and hit subscribe today. I go to bed every night listening to the Swamp Dweller, so thank you so much. All right, let's shift gears. Let's head into the cryptid world, where our resident cryptid hunter, Super Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube, is here to share some other weird stories. All right, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. That was a scary story from Swampy there. Yeah, they got Sasquatch.
Oh, is it Sasquatch? I don't think it's skinwalkers. I really don't.
Now, the audio thing isn't usually connected with them. That's usually some other cryptid that's doing that.
I think so, too. Definitely not Skinwalker, but that's okay. You know, we could be those two old guys up in the rafters there at the Muppet Show, critiquing everything.
The ones in the balcony seat.
Get off my lawn!
We had way better researchers when I was a kid. You guys are lame.
You young jerks need to know what a real monster is. Ha ha! You know how it is.
You can't get anything on camera because you don't use a camera. It's all digital, and that garbage doesn't work.
You're even too old to know what a camera is there, Duke.
That's right. We used to look at the picture and then carve its image in a stone tablet and haul that back.
Huh! I got underwear older than you. There we go.
When I was a kid, the ground was still hot.
I got nowhere to go from that. All right. I got to ask you, man, what kind of spooky story do you have for us today?
Well, we got a couple of one very weird and disturbing story that's not so much spooky, and another one is an interesting announcement here that anybody that's like really interested in Bigfoot movies, and I know there's a lot of Bigfoot movie junkies out there going, can you guys make another Bigfoot movie now? I need one every day. And there's also a lot of horror movie junkies out there. Well, this is where they kind of come together in a really cool way. Because someone just discovered a Bigfoot movie made by George Romero. University of Pittsburgh Library System has been hard at work sifting through the archives of the late filmmaker George Romero, discovering plenty of surprises along the way. Now, the team behind the effort has unearthed yet another unknown bit of Romero's work, and fans of the horror auteur will soon get to experience it. It was recently announced that archivists found a 35mm negative print of a previously unseen short film in the George A. Romero archival collection, which was acquired by Pitt in 2018. Titled Jacaranda Joe, a film synopsis provided in an email from Pitt says that in 1994, Romero traveled to Valencia Community College in Central Florida to, quote, make a short film about swamp-dwelling Bigfoot, unquote. Pitt will screen the film, which has been described as being largely unknown and presumed lost, on Tuesday, April 12th during a virtual webinar, which, by the way, is on Zoom and is free. The event will mark the first time ever that the film will be shown to the public. In a Twitter thread from March 23, Pitt visiting researcher and horror scholar Adam Hart calls Jacaranda Joe a very early example of what would later be known as a found footage film, in which a sleazy talk show host debates a video that seems to have captured a glimpse of a Bigfoot-like creature in the swamp. So this is like the Blair Witch Project before there was a Blair Witch Project. Hart also links to the 1994 article in the Orlando Sentinel that describes how Romero, who was then 54, worked with students at the Valencia Community College to make the so-called mock documentary. Some of the Valencia alum who worked on the film will speak during Pitt's April 12th screening. And again, it was conceived before the Blair Witch Project, the 1999 hit, that launched the whole found film horror trend. And 1980s Cannibal Apocalypse, which was much earlier, set the foundation for the now familiar genre. Jacaranda Joe, which Romero wrote as an experiment in the foul documentary, a.k.a. Geraldo Rivera-like TV talk show host investigates an encounter with the alleged monster on a hunting show. Romero wants to know if audiences can be scared by a documentary format, if they can be frightened when they don't know much about the story's characters. So Pitt also facilitated the premiere of another lost Romero gem, the Amusement Park, which is a commissioned project shot in a local theme park. The film was later acquired by Shudder and is now streaming on the platform. So again, the public screening of this film by George A. Romero, which is Jacaranda Joe, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Tuesday, April 12th. Taking place on Zoom, free, and you need to register for it. So there's some interesting news on the video front.
I have some interesting news on the Spaced Out Radio front. that I forgot to add in earlier.
Go.
On Saturdays and Sundays, starting May 7th and 8th, first weekend of May, the Cryptid Huntress. Jessica Jones will be hosting a 1-hour power cryptid show called Off the Trails, right here on our YouTube channel. It'll be right before the after-hour show with Big Willie, Gemma Jade, and John Hudson. And it's going to be amazing. It'll be Saturday, Sunday night. 1 hour, starting at, let's see, I believe that's 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern each night.
Very cool. Very cool. I see she's working with Bigfoot Michigan Rob and those guys over there.
Yes,
on their,
she is.
SCAD of channels that they have going.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah, they got what do they got? About 94 channels between the
yeah, something like that. Like every couple of days they make a new one. So they're branching out a lot. They'll have the entire 24-hour day and 7-day week covered here pretty soon.
Good for them.
Yeah. So, speaking of channels and whatnot, go check out my TikTok channel, World Bigfoot Radio TV. So anyway, getting back to the oldest Bigfoot photo ever, a cryptozoological conspiracy. And I also was pointing out to the people in chat earlier during the break that one of the more popular Bigfoot video breakdown guys, Bob Gimlin of the Y, just did about a 35-minute take on this thing the other day. And it was interesting that although he did a great breakdown on it, he did not have the higher definition picture available for him to put on there, which is really kind of annoying because the one that everybody's been ignoring for years just looks like kind of a black outline in the snow. So it's hard to tell what it is. And then when you see the higher detail one, and it's like, oh my God, this thing's so obvious. But so anyway, cryptozoological conspiracy. There's an astonishing photo from Canada. Hey, you're near there, Dave.
All right.
Taken in 1894, which would seem to be the oldest known photograph of Bigfoot. Again, that's 1894. The photo had originally been sent to Tom Biscardi by Lal Billett of Victoria, Canada. Cryptomundo blogger Lauren Coleman then posted the photo on his website where the author saw it. The photo also appears in the updated version of the 1982 book Bigfoot Casebook by Colin and Janet Board. It is said that a picture tells 1,000 words, and this photo says a lot. It does not seem to be a fake. The photo is cracked from a fold in the upper quarter. A Sasquatch is lying in the snow with its arms in front so the hairy hands can be seen. The face is hairy but not very detailed. Snowshoes can be seen at the left edge of the photo, which gives you something great to scale it with. There seems to be a fence and a building on the right side just beneath the crack in the picture. The feet of the dead Sasquatch are not seen, cropped out of the right side of the photo, unfortunately. The story behind the photo is that in 1894, in the wilds of Western Canada, some trappers and mountain men encountered a Bigfoot and shot him. It may have happened near their cabin. They took a photograph of it, but there's more. The photo had some writing on the back of it. And it shows the back of the photograph with all the scribbled, cramped handwriting. Year 1894, Yakima River around Lillooet, BC. BC, that's near where you are, right, Dave?
Maybe.
Forestry, Hudson Bay Company. They took the picture, and the guy that was in the picture went and stole them back from the forestry records, Hudson Bay Company. I believe his last name was Holiday. Don't know his first name. Never took all the pictures, only one. But he took a picture of the rest of the pictures. And this is glass plate photography. In 1894, they didn't have Kodak cameras. They were lugging this giant box around with them with glass plates in it. So getting a picture of anything was pretty problematic. Now, the cover-up is very interesting information and confirms that some have suspected for many years there is something of a cover-up, that's an understatement, going on concerning evidence of Bigfoot. We now get a more complete story. There was more than one photo. Someone named Holiday apparently took the photos or was pictured in one or more of them. He went to the forestry records of the Hudson's Bay Company where he stole back one of the photos. The number of photos taken of the Bigfoot is not known. We might guess that there are 4 or 5 original glass plate photos. So some trappers shot and killed a Bigfoot in 1894, and they worked for the Hudson's Bay Company, Canada's earliest trading company, founded in 1670. The Hudson's Bay Company is no ordinary company. It was the de facto government in large parts of North America before European states or the United States were able to lay claim to areas in this vast domain.
Very
Today,
true.
Today is one of the oldest operating companies in the world, begun as a fur trading company of the Hudson Bay. It now has its headquarters in the Simpson Tower in Toronto. At one point, the Hudson Bay Company had its own country of a sort called Rupert's Land. At the time, the Hudson's Bay Company was one of the largest landowners in the world, with approximately 15% of the land mass of North America. Rupert's Land consisted of lands that were in the Hudson Bay drainage system, basically the land surrounding any rivers that drained into the Hudson's Bay. It was named after the first governor of the company, Prince Rupert of the Rhine, who was a nephew of Britain's King Charles I. The governor of the Company of Adventurers of England Trading comprised the original group that chartered the Hudson's Bay Company. Rupert's Land and the Hudson's Bay Company had their headquarters at the York Factory, a town and fort along the Hayes River leading into Hudson's Bay once the capital, Rupert's Land, was closed down by the company in 1957. So it nominally owned Rupert's Land for almost 200 years, until about 1870, some 24 years before this photo was allegedly taken and suppressed. Still, the Hudson's Bay Company was very powerful in 1894 and remains a major fixture in the Canadian economy today as the owner of many of Canada's retail chains such as the Bay, Zellers, Fields, and Home Outfitters. The company has archives located in Winnipeg, Manitoba, said to be a collection of the company's records and maps. Does it include some Bigfoot photos? That's what the writing scribbled on the Bigfoot photo suggests.
Oh, I hope so.
So where's all the evidence? Well, one has to wonder if the photo is genuine, why it was not published many years ago and featured in every Bigfoot book written since 1894. Here we have what seems to be some pretty solid evidence of Bigfoot Sasquatch that is just what the scientific community says they're looking for. In fact, these folks from the Hudson's Bay Company not only have some photos of a dead Bigfoot, but at the time, says the photos, they actually had a dead Bigfoot. We're talking here about, like, Bigfoot steaks, Bigfoot fur, Bigfoot head, Bigfoot paws, and all that, the whole thing. Since the Hudson's Bay Company specialized in dead animals and their fur, one would think that this animal, whatever it was carefully skinned and preserved. Was its head mounted and displayed in the den of some chairman of the company? That seems far-fetched today, but perhaps back in 1894, it might have been seen, perhaps surrounded by some secrecy in some Canadian or British aristocrat's personal collection. Because of the interest in Bigfoot and other hidden animals, I've often asked the question, why isn't there more evidence for Bigfoot than just stories? Where are the photos? Where are the dead bodies that must have been found over the years? And typically the answer to these questions is one doesn't see, dead animals lying around all that often. Often do you see a dead bear or something. But now we have another explanation, one that's startling to the researcher and the skeptic alike, that evidence of Bigfoot, including good photos and preserved bodies, have been gathered but kept a secret. But why, you ask? Why wouldn't the Hudson's Bay Company just publish its photos and display a mummified Bigfoot to gawking tourists in Toronto? Why would the Canadian government, or American, or British, suppress evidence of Bigfoot? Don't we? There are clear photos of bodies, and wouldn't that be shown to the interested viewers around the world? Or do we live in a world where some things are suppressed, including evidence of Bigfoot? Add to the suppression of real Bigfoot evidence some hoax Bigfoot cases that everyone can laugh at, and you have a subject that appears to be just fantasy and tall tales. Some things are just too shocking to the status quo. Strange mutations or missing links that make us question traditional religious beliefs or the tenets of mankind's sacred pillars of science and evolution. If all the experts and scholars have been so wrong for decades, what are we supposed to believe from them? So now they go through the whole process of where they track down exactly where this thing was, and they conclude with ape-man tourism. We now have the final scene of the tragic Bigfoot in our photograph. He'd come to Lillooet to get some salmon, which was known to be plentiful at the spot. Mm-hmm. Native Americans had ignored them for hundreds of years, but these new white men in the area didn't know what it was, so they shot and killed it. Then they took a photograph of it. Then someone in the company ordered the photo suppressed. And it seems that a cryptozoology conspiracy does in fact exist. Evidence including photos and bodies kept from the press and the public at large. It would seem that government and corporate identities are actively covering this up. While governments Canada and the US could be trying to protect Bigfoot by suppressing evidence of their existence, some other countries use the ape man to promote tourism. Countries like Nepal and Bhutan promote Yeti tourism, but still protect the species with national laws. And I'd like to add here that China has an entire game reserve set apart just for the Yeren, which they also say is a real thing. So there's other countries out there that are admitting they're real. It's just us idiots in the West that keep trying to suppress it for some reason. So it seems incredible, but the reality of Sasquatch seems hard to deny when faced with what seems to be overwhelming amounts of evidence. Could all the stories that have come down to us for over 200 years in North America be cases of misidentification of bears or the occasional escaped circus gorilla or hoaxes? That's even harder to believe than that Bigfoot's real.
Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio continues with the Cryptid Report into the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. We'll also get to Shirky Poo's news. A solid final half hour left for you tonight on the mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Good job, Super Duke. You know, Lillooet is also home to a lot of UFO sightings, and it's got rattlesnakes there, too.
Oh, God. Isn't it far enough north that they should at least not have those damn things up there?
No. Dude, Lillooet's in a desert. Lillooet gets up to like 120 degrees Fahrenheit, dude.
Yeah, what do the rattlesnakes do for the other 11 months of the year?
Well, it's also... Lillooet is also on the way to the Gold Bridge where the alleged time traveler photo was taken.
Mm. You know, by the way, I'm not like going out of my way to try and find weird things up there in British Columbia just to freak you out. There's just that many weird things in British Columbia, Dave.
I agree.
And if you want to have a whole myriad of different cryptids to choose from and UFOs and all kinds of weird, creepy stuff, where Dave is at is a really good spot. If you just want to hang around with Bigfoot, come over here to Western Montana.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree with you, Super Duke. I agree with you.
How much time do we got?
We got about 4.5 minutes.
Are we magic 8-balling tonight?
I'm not feeling it.
I pretty much ran through everything I had, so we could talk about something.
Sure.
I didn't know how long we were going to go. Oh.
Me too, Mark Sanchez. Very excited. I gotta go get my sides done on my hair so that way it's all looking nice and pretty. Here comes Super Duke.
Being in the apartment right now makes me hungry because it smells like yummy tacos in here. Not like boring average tacos, but yummy tacos.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm too close to the kitchen, so it's just making me hungry again. Usually when I make homemade tacos, they don't turn out this good. So it's kind of like, oh, God, no, I made a good batch. I'm going to get fat.
Let me see here.
Yeah, Jim, I don't know if they ever encountered each other. I know the boogeyman doesn't like Chuck Norris. He checks underneath his bed before he goes to sleep in the morning to make sure Chuck Norris ain't there.
Joe wants to know how often Bigfoot watches you through those big windows.
I'm on the second floor and we're in town, so probably not very often.
We got about 45 seconds.
Alrighty.
I want to say a big thank you to Surf Jair times 4, Allison, Lucy, Candy, Obi Flat, Steve, Gary, and Thomas for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you so much. It really does help us out on what we do here on a nightly basis on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you. And thank you to all the veterans out there for tuning us in. You always got a safe home here on Spaced Out Radio's chat room. Here we go. Like
the greatest chat room.
About 8 seconds, 5 seconds, 2 seconds. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us in and hanging out with us. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Super Duke and World Bigfoot Radio, where he comes on in to talk about some really cool cryptid stories that he always has prepared. For some reason, they're always around British Columbia. I don't know why, but Super Duke, we always love it when you're here, man.
Just picking on Dave about that. And I was reassuring him that I am not purposely trying to find stuff around British Columbia. There just happens to be a ton of it. And it's not all just Bigfoot. There's other weird cryptid stuff up there, too. And you go north of him up into the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, Alaska, all the way down the Pacific coast. It's like creepy land, man. If you want to run into, aliens and saucers and ghosts and all kinds of cryptids, Dave is in Cryptid Central. So it's an appropriate place to broadcast out of from my, standpoint.
It is beautiful, man. It is beautiful. You know what I did on the weekend?
Did you go scout for a new Bigfoot location, Dave?
I did. I went up to the area where the alleged dogmen were seen. Now, now there's still a lot of snow up there. There weren't any areas where you just felt weirded out. There wasn't any of those that I felt just yet, but I did feel that it is a place that I need to investigate further. There's a lot of trails in there. There's still a lot of roads that are covered in about a foot and a half of snow. The snow is melting very quickly in that area and all around here, and I would say probably within the next month we can do some serious investigation in that area.
Man, I bet that's got you excited. I know I'm looking at the ever-receding snowpack here, getting all antsy to get up into the mountains and go visit with my biggie pals up there, see how they've been all winter.
Well, what excites me about that area, Duke, is we have a mountainous area with a lot of high peaks on the east, And on the west, there's a lot of water. There's a lot of water. There's a lot of streams. There's a lot of lakes that have fish in them. So there's a lot of natural habitat in that area where they can feed, where they can bathe, where they can escape. I'm very excited about that information, man. What else should I be looking for there? What else should I be looking for?
Well, since it sounds like they got lots of cover and a plethora of food supplies to choose from, the next thing to do is to figure out where they are liable to hang out. In the spring, in the mornings, they like to hang out on the southeast side of mountains because that's what gets the maximum sun, and they warm themselves up there. And the rest of the time, it totally depends on the environment that you're in. Where's the available food source that time of the year? They love fish, but they're not, like catching fish isn't all that easy for them. That's one thing that we can do actually better than them, which is why you frequently hear these stories where they're stealing fish from fish nets, or they're, getting fish from fishermen or so, because, hey, we love fish, but hard for us to catch. We don't have a fishing pole. It's been observed how they've done this, by the way. Somebody actually saw 3 Sasquatch doing this, and the big male was using his hand like to scoop shovel on a backhoe, reaching quickly into the river, scooping one up, throwing it up on shore. And then the little one or his mate would grab it and haul it so it wouldn't flop back down the bank into the water again. And that's how they were fishing. But, there's limits to what you could do with that, too. If you're floating in the water and you're, 80 feet from shore, it's going to be hard to scoop a fish out and lob it and hit shore with it, and et cetera, et cetera.
I'm really surprised, Duke, that we don't see more instances of Sasquatch doing like what the grizzly bears do in the rivers during salmon season, which is go sit in the middle of the rapids and let the fish come to them. I mean, bears have perfected laziness. If they don't have if they don't have to work, they won't work.
They're not going to.
No.
Well, I would expect that the Sasquatch probably are doing that, but they're doing it in areas where humans aren't going to observe them, and they're probably doing it at night. When we were camping down on the Blackfoot River, we had one out in the river turning rocks over. I don't know if he was pulling crayfish or something from underneath them, but he was in that frigid river for 45 minutes, pulling rocks over, face down in the river, scooping up something, chucking it up on shore. He was throwing it to the other side, so you couldn't see what he was throwing over there. But so yeah, they're quite fastidious and very cold resistant. This was mid-December, and that river is ice cold during the summer, and it was 16 degrees at the time that he was doing that, right around 10 o'clock at night. So yeah, a human would have went into hypothermic shock and been washed down the river within 2 minutes if they even tried it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I mean, geez, I mean, the water is so powerful. It just amazes me that we don't see more bears swept away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They're powerful swimmers, though. I mean, look at some of the reports of them. Polar bears especially, they've seen them 20, 30 miles out to sea away from the nearest ice pack, happily swimming to somewhere else. So apparently they can swim a long ways. And, the regular bears that aren't as aquatic as they are, they're still really good at it. There's lots of sightings of them swimming from island to island over in Vancouver and, places like that where people are along the coast. And, same thing inland where you have big lakes and there's islands on them. There could be bears on it. They'll swim a long ways to go check out some spot they don't think there's been anybody else getting the food out of it. They'll go check it out. All
right, I'm pretty sure you have another story for us somewhere.
I don't have any backups yet tonight, although we can talk about something that doesn't usually get mentioned because people tend to shy away from it. And let's have a little discussion on this subject right now, which is the biggest subject in Bigfoot. Why are they suppressing it? And there's been a lot of ideas thrown out about this. Well, it's because of the logging. Well, if you take a closer look at that, no, it's not because of the logging, because they were just as hard suppressing everything with Bigfoot related down here in the southern 48. Well, there was essentially no logging going on because Canadian logging industry is subsidized and the U.S. wasn't. So most of our wood was getting imported from Canada, yet there was nobody talking about Bigfoot and the spotted owl and all these other things that they they don't want to bring it up because then they'll have to set aside preserves for them and such and whatnot. Well, again, that's, fairly bogus and easily debunked with simple logic if you think about it. how are you going to set up a preserve for them? How are you going to keep them in there? That's ridiculous. Never going to work. So what is their all-consuming reason for trying to keep this from coming out? Well, if it was a natural animal, if it was Gigantopithecus, like the glorified podiatrist tries to tell everybody, we would have had one in a zoo 150 years ago. Humans are excellent hunters. We were out killing whales before we had gunpowder technology, the biggest animal on Earth. We were out there in a canoe killing them with spears. So there's no way, if this thing was a normal animal, with the great hunters that we had, and some of which we still have, they wouldn't have already drug one in. And as you heard in the report earlier tonight, people have shot them. They got the body back in 1894. They probably had them before that. I know somebody that claimed to have been a member of a NATO team about 25, 30 years ago that was going around collecting cryptids for analysis. They know all about these things. They can't see them from satellite. Are you serious? I know somebody that does search and rescue in Canada, and when they have somebody that's missing for more than a day, they call in the satellite pictures and have infrared image that whole area to look at. If that human is visible from the sky, they can tell you exactly where they are, and they can tell you what kind of animal they're looking at from their heat signature. And by the way, Sasquatch show up with a very dark red heat signature, which is not common for other animals.
Very true.
They know all about these things. So what is the reason for covering it up? Well, first of all, obviously, there's something weird about it. It's not a normal animal. And as we like to point out here, there's a lot of evidence that there's paranormal things connected to them, which is, of course, one of the reasons that it makes it so difficult to actually, haul one in. And yeah, there's kill teams that go out there and get rid of them. And there's some that are brought in even alive, that they're probably doing their little nifty experimentation on. But again, the question is, why are they hiding this? Well, because it's not an animal. It's a relic hominid. They're not us, but they're a relative of us. And this has been proven by the Melba Ketchum's DNA study, which proved that the female side, the mitochondrial DNA, was human, and the male side, the nuclear DNA, was unknown. And that these beings go back with this hybrid bloodline at least 15,000 years, apparently when they popped into existence. Now, the other part of this whole thing that she didn't get a chance to reveal to the public because she got stamped on by the deep state so damn bad as soon as she came out with a study is that the reason that there's not a match for the male side isn't because the male side is some extinct, like Paranthropus or Heidelbergensis or something like that. It's because it's Heinz 57. It's such an improbable mixture of different DNA strains, it absolutely could not arise in nature. There's the big problem. Whatever Bigfoot was, it was synthetically manufactured at some point about 15,000 years ago. And who had DNA technology 15,000 years ago to splice human DNA with all these other things and create this thing? So there's your answer, people. That opens up a whole big can of worms, doesn't it? A whole giant can of worms that they don't want to answer the questions about. They're not ready to let the public know about, and they just want everybody to just drop the subject, and it's just Gigantopithecus running around the woods if it's even there, like the glorified podiatrist keeps telling people.
Okay. I could see something to that, but I also do believe, and I know you and I... Excuse me, I know you and I will probably agree to disagree on this, but I really do believe a lot of it is environmental. I really do. It's just...
Subspecies are going to become apparent just by dwelling in the same area for long enough. I mean, there's obvious differences between humans that live in different areas on the planet, too, because an isolated group of them hasn't been inbreeding with everybody around them for a long time. They'll tend to take on certain characteristics and traits that are pretty much only endemic to them after a long enough period of time, like the ostrich people over in Africa. But that doesn't mean they're not human. They all have human DNA. So in a real population of any kind of creature, if there's enough of them around, you'd expect to see differences in the population across a wide area. There's over 20 different kinds of white-tailed deer in North America. They're all white-tailed deer. There's over 20 different kinds.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think it is more environmental, that it's going to affect the economy in areas there. I know logging crews up here, and I know you're in a logging area too, and I'm not saying it's any different, but I know logging crews up here, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want nothing. And then there are those in the logging industry who, I talked to a gentleman the other day, been over 40 years in the bush, never seen a thing. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy who a few years ago was almost killed by a grizzly bear.
Most of the loggers up here in the Yak know all about them. They call them timber apes, and they're an annoyance. But the ones up here aren't that aggressive. So they generally don't attack the loggers. Plus, we're not anywhere close to cutting down all the woods. There's always way more woods than what we're cutting down. So, no, I don't buy that at all. I don't see there's no justifiable monetary reason for that level of cover-up, and especially when it's across most of the world. What about all the countries where there isn't any logging going on, Dave?
Very true.
They're covering it up, too.
Hey, I want to get to this comment here, get your opinion. Vaughn says, my 4-year-old daughter was walking in front of me at a stop outside of Jasper, Alberta, and asked me if there were apes in the woods. I said no, and I asked her why. She turned around and said, I just saw one.
I would like to, at this point, reference the Blaine Tyler story when he was 8 years old and went camping in North Ontario with his folks and friends, and he was wandering around the woods and saw some gorillas, and then came back to camp and went, hey, I didn't know there was gorillas around here, and they just kind of smiled at him, and then he got back home and he dug into the books and looked it up, and sure enough, there are no gorillas in Ontario. Then he was really confused for quite a few years. He saw them out in the woods. What are those things? Those are gorillas, I think. They look like gorillas. I didn't know there was gorillas here in Ontario.
Yeah, so strange, man. So darn strange. Duke, we've got about a minute left with you tonight. Tell us where everybody can find World Bigfoot Radio.
You can find me on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey. My 2 groups on Facebook are World Bigfoot Radio and Montana Bigfoot Project, and World Bigfoot Central on MeWe. And this week is Where's Waldo week, so go watch the video I turned out on Sunday and see how many you can spot. I've had over half a dozen timestamps and screen captures sent to me already. So go see what you can find. Your name will be in the credits.
Awesome. That's why we love you, Super Duke. You're one of the best out there. Keep it up. And everybody who listens to our channel should go on YouTube and hit subscribe on World Bigfoot Radio. Super Duke Sullivan. Not all heroes wear capes, people. Not all heroes wear capes. But Duke wears a cape. Let's get to it.
Love you guys. Don't hug the Wookiees.
All right. Shirky Poo's got the news for us tonight. Where's she taking us? No one knows. How about Loch Ness? 2 Geordie Loch Ness monster hunters believe they've spotted the mystical creature. Yeah. Wayne Speed and Jamie Huntley were making a documentary about the notoriously camera-shy creature last Wednesday, March 30th, when they noticed a 5-meter-long whale-like hump bob above the surface of the famous Loch Ness in Scotland. But frustratingly, the 35-year-old Jamie was only able to capture the ripples on the surface by the time he'd got his camera out. What kind of documentarian is caught without a camera, Duke? Honestly,
damn it!
Honestly, come on.
Should be wearing a GoPro on both sides of your head. What the hell?
Well, this is what he says. If we'd arrived literally 10 seconds earlier, we would have caught this properly on camera. We were absolutely gutted that we missed what would have been a genuinely historic picture. Now, this isn't the first time Nessie invaded people like this. For hundreds of years, people have been trying to claim that they can't find, even though they're searching for Loch Ness Monster, which brings in nearly $53 million in tourism dollars every year. Warren said the creature looked like an upturned boat, but was adamant that it wasn't, in fact, an upturned boat. He said, as we are actually here in Loch Ness filming a documentary on, of all things, of strange occurrences in the area, we expect ridicule and disbelief, but we know exactly what we saw. Nessie Hunter, Steve Feltham, who was met later in the day, agreed the experience sounded and looked like a genuine, similar sighting to others over the years. I just can't get over I can't even finish this story. These guys piss me off so much. Okay? How can you be there filming a documentary and the one time you need your camera, through the entire thing, you have it packed up in the back of the lorry? Like, come on.
Cryptids do this on purpose just to really tick you off. They wait until you turn the camera off and then they pop up and go, ah!
All right. A man who married 9 women says he now plans to divorce one of them. Arthur Orozco of Brazil. We covered this story a number of months ago. He hit headlines last year when he and his girlfriends tied the knot. The model was already officially married to his partner, Luana, so the ceremony wasn't binding, as polygamy is, a little illegal in Brazil. But at the time, he said he wanted to celebrate free love and rebel against monogamy. However, one of his wives, named Agatha, has now decided to leave him after realizing the setup wasn't for her. She wanted to have me all to herself, Arthur said. Didn't make sense. We have to share. I was very sad about the separation and even more surprised by her excuse. She said that she was missing a monogamous relationship. How dare she? My other wives thought her attitude was wrong and that she accepted the marriage for adventure and not for real feelings. I know I've lost a wife, he says, but I'm not going to replace her at the moment. Well, look at that. He has a heart. He has a heart. A teenager who had a once-in-a-lifetime encounter with a great white shark while diving off of the Florida coast was even more shocked to meet a second great white the very next day. 17-year-old Nick Bailey, who has cojones of steel, posted a video on Instagram showing his close encounter with the great white near the Stewart Inlet. Bailey said he's come within an arm's length of the ocean predator. The video shows Bailey diving the next day at Stewart Inlet again when he came across the second shark. Video shows Bailey swimming up behind the shark and touching its tail fin. I touched a great white, he says. Yeah, 2 days later, he's food. He's food. Not really, but this is what happens in Dave's world. Okay, this kid, if I caught my kid swimming with great white sharks like that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I better be the first person on your will. Seriously. Ridiculous.
Good Lord.
I don't get...
count coup on a great white shark and you don't give it a friendly gum rub.
No. Duke, there are certain things. Look, I love the sharks. Love the sharks. That's why they have an ocean. And that's why Dave has land. All right, big thank you to Shirky Poo for the news. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio for another awesome storytelling adventure here on the Cryptid Tale. Swamp Dweller for a fantastic story on coyotes. But were they coyotes? And of course, Geraldine Orozco with another power show on the Spiritual You. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Twitter, and wherever else we are. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.